Good morning, children. Today we are going to start our history chapter, and the name of the chapter is The Partition Plan of Bengal, and that is our Indian history chapter. And here in this chapter, we are going to study about the partition of Bengal. How was the partition done? Who did the partition? When did the partition take place? What were the causes of the partition plan of Bengal? And who were the persons behind the partition plan of Bengal? What has happened? What was the result? What were the impact of the partition plan of Bengal? Whether the partition plan of Bengal was a successful event or not, or what has happened because of the partition plan of Bengal. So we are going to study about the partition plan of Bengal. So let me first tell you, the partition plan of Bengal had taken place in the year 1905. It was on 16th October 1905. And that partition, when had taken place in Bengal, Bengal was divided into two parts. Let me first tell you what is partition plan of Bengal. The division of Bengal into two parts during the time of Lord Curzon, that was known as the partition plan of Bengal. And Bengal was divided into two parts, which was one part was the Eastern Bengal and another part was Western Bengal. And since Eastern Bengal, geographically, when it was demarcated, when it was partitioned, it became a smaller province. So as a result, with Eastern Bengal, Assam, Rasai, Dhaka was also included. And the western part of Bengal, which was the main Calcutta, there the main Calcutta, which was geographically large, along with the western part of Calcutta, Bihar, Odisha were also adjoined. So today we are going to study about the partition plan of Bengal. Why did the partition take place and who did the partition? First of all, let me tell you, when the partition plan of Bengal had taken place, it was Lord Curzon who was the Governor General of Bengal. And the main persons who helped Lord Curzon geographically to do the partition, it was Henry Fraser and J. Devin Fuller. They were also the Chief Commissioner of Bihar, Madhya Pradesh and Assam. And these were the two persons who geographically who had done the paperwork and had helped Lord Curzon to do the partition. And Lord Curzon was the Governor General and he was the one who had announced the partition plan of Bengal. So when we say about the partition plan of Bengal, the causes behind the partition plan of Bengal. So like if we say study about the causes of the partition plan of Bengal, so we have to study or we have to know about like two causes, two division of the causes. The first were the real causes and the real causes and the main cause behind the partition plan of Bengal. So when we say two causes behind the partition plan of Bengal, though it was officially said by the British government that they were going to divide Bengal because administratively Bengal was becoming a larger province, population was increasing and they were finding it very difficult just to have a smooth functioning of the administration of Bengal. They were going to divide Bengal into two parts. But the real motive, the real intention behind the partition plan of Bengal was something else that was not disclosed by Lord Curzon in front of the public. Now, let me tell you about the background of the partition plan of Bengal. So, when Bengal was occupied by the British East India Company, and at that time, at that point, Bengal was a very economically very strong state. It was a very prosperous region, and the Britishers, the trading company, it had an eye on Bengal. It wanted to occupy Bengal, and at that time, at that point of time, Robert Clive, he was the commander-in-chief of the British East India Company. And the ruler of Bengal, the Nawab of Bengal was Sirajuddaula. Sirajuddaula was a very strong man, he was a very powerful man, and he did not allow the Britishers to enter into Bengal. And as a result, two battles were fought in order to occupy Bengal by the Britishers. Those were the Battle of Plassey and the Battle of Boxer. The Battle of Plassey was fought in 1757 and the Battle of Boxer in 1764. And in that Battle of Plassey, Sirajuddaula was defeated by the Britishers, and in the Battle of Boxer, three Indian rulers, Shah Alam II, Sujauddaulah and Mir Qasim were defeated, and finally one agreement was signed which was known as the Treaty of Allahabad in 1764, and with that agreement Bengal came under the control of the British government. And when Bengal came under the control of the British government, the Britishers, they got so tempted that Bengal was such an economically, it was flourishing, it was becoming economically very strong. So as a result, they not only wanted to occupy Bengal, but also the nearby areas of Bengal from where they could earn a huge amount of revenue. And let me tell you one very important point of the Treaty of Allahabad was the Diwani of Bengal. When they had signed the Treaty of Allahabad, with that treaty, they also got a very important power, and that power was the Diwani of Bengal, the legal right to collect taxes from Bengal, Bihar, and Orissa. And that is how Bengal, Bihar, Orissa came under the control of the British government. And that is how the British control over Bengal started. And when they started ruling Bengal, when they started controlling Bengal, then they found there in Bengal, the people of Bengal, they were very conscious. There was unity among the people of Bengal, between the Hindus and the Muslims, between the Hindu farmers and the Muslim farmers. And moreover, there was an intellectual class. There was some very good intellectual class. There were some writers. There were some leaders who aroused a great consciousness among the people of Bengal. And most important, the feeling of nationalism was very strong in Bengal. So Lord Curzon, when he had seen those things, he had a fear in his mind. So though he did not publicly disclose, but he made an announcement after doing all the processes and the paperwork. He made an announcement that he was going to divide Bengal into two parts. That was East Bengal and West Bengal. And when the day when the announcement was done, though like I say, in 1925 the partition had taken place, but Lord Curzon, we all know the Britishers were very organized. They are not where now also, they are very organized, very systematic, and they are very well planned. So they already made up the mind and they were going to divide Bengal into two parts. And though the partition had taken place in the year 1925, but the working on the partition had been started by Lord Curzon from 1903 itself, from 1903 onwards. And from that time onwards, they did all the planning, they did all the organization, they did everything, how they were going to divide Bengal, what would be the geographical regions, how the divisions would take place, who would be the governors, how the administration would be done, everything they started doing from 1903 onwards. And finally, like the day has come around 1st September 1905, they made an official announcement and they were going to partition Bengal into two parts. And it was like officially it was announced, or publicly it was announced, that they were going to divide Bengal into two parts only to have a smooth functioning of the government. Why only to have a smooth functioning of the government? According to the British government, they said that Bengal was becoming a larger province, the population of Bengal was increasing. So as a result, just to have a smooth functioning of the administration, have a smooth functioning of the organization, they had decided to divide Bengal into two parts, that was East Bengal and West Bengal. But though it was the official reason, publicly it was disclosed, but the real reason, the real intention behind the partition of Bengal was something else. And that was already, like I had said in my starting of the explanation, where there was a great bond. There was great unity between or among the people of Bengal, especially the Hindu farmers and the Muslim farmers. There was a feeling of nationalism, there was a strong bond among the people of Bengal. And the most important thing, there was a group of intellectual people, a group of leaders who could understand the British exploitative policies, and every time they kept on criticizing, they kept on raising voice against the autocratic policies of the British government. And for that reason only, the Britishers, they wanted to break up the unity, divide the people in the name of religion, convert the people into minorities, so that even if they revolt also, it would be easy for the British government to suppress the revolt. Otherwise, if all the people of Bengal, if they would come together, stand together, if there exists unity, then it would be difficult for the British government. Because like I tell you, right from the day the Britishers entered into Assam, or not only Assam and India, they always had a fear in their mind. They always had a fear in their mind that if all the Indian people, if all the Assam people, if they would stand together, come together, then it will be very dangerous for the British government to stop them. But that part, that strength and unity of the Indian people was not realized by the Indians themselves. So as a result, the Britishers always, right from the day they entered India, they applied the divide and rule policy. They applied the divide and rule policy, and that same policy they were applying in Bengal also, to break up the unity, to divide the people in the name of religion, and also to convert the different section of people into minorities, so that they do not revolt, they do not raise their voice. But officially, they did not disclose that reason, saying that they wanted to have a smooth functioning of the administration of Bengal. For that reason, they were divided in Bengal. But the day when from Bengal, the leaders of Bengal, especially Rabindranath Tagore, Rabindranath Banerjee, when they came to know the day, that is like from 1903, from that day onwards, the people of Bengal, though officially, unofficially they came to know that day onwards, the people of Bengal, the leaders of Bengal, they raised voice, they protested, they did not want Bengal to be partitioned. But the Britishers, they did not listen, they did not consider their application, they did not consider their request, and they did the partition. And though Lord Curzon was the Governor General who had done the partition, during this time the partition had taken place, but the main two persons behind the partition was Fraser and Fuller. They were the Chief Commissioner of Assam and Madhya Pradesh. They were the person who had given the entire geographical explanation how to divide Bengal into two parts. And finally, Bengal was divided into two parts. One was the eastern part and another one was the western part. The eastern part, when it was divided, it became geographically, it became a smaller province. And for that, with the eastern part of Bengal, Assam, Rajshahi, Dhaka was also included. And the western part of Bengal, which was the main Calcutta, there the main Calcutta was there alongside Bihar, Madhya Pradesh was there, where from those areas the Britishers, they could collect a huge amount of taxes. And the day of the 16th October 1925, when the partition had taken place, there is a huge uprising in Bengal. The leaders of Bengal, everyone protested in Bengal. Everyone protested in Bengal, and finally that partition of Bengal, it had resulted to a very important movement, which was known as the Swadeshi movement. And that movement we consider in the history of India as the first ever successful, the longest movement, which continued for 6 years. And the spirit of the movement, it was for 6 years, the spirit of the movement, even for 1 day also, it did not decrease. Rather, it kept on increasing, and finally Britishers, they were compelled to withdraw. They were compelled to withdraw the Bengal partition. In 1911, the partition plan of Bengal was, in 1911, the partition plan of Bengal was withdrawn. And now saying about the Swadeshi movement, the first ever longest successful movement which had taken place, where the Britishers, the people of Bengal, they adopted a very intellectual step, and that step was a boycott of the British goods. Because at that point of time in Bengal, the entire Bengal market was crowded with all British goods. And when the policy of boycott movement was adopted by the people of Bengal, the entire British production stopped in Bengal. People stopped buying the British goods and commodities. The entire British market was stopped in Bengal, and there was a huge economic blow to the British government. And the Britishers, they never expected that one such kind of step can be adopted by the people of Bengal. And it was not only confined only with the production. The people of Bengal not only stopped using the British goods in production, they boycotted the British goods in production, picketed the British shops. They even boycotted the schools and colleges, the educational institutions, the offices, the courts, everything. And in that process of boycotting the British goods, like though it was like boycott for the British government, but that boycott acted positively for the Indians, for the people of Bengal, where the British production was stopped, and in place of British production, the Bengal industries, Bengal economy revived. And the British government and the people of Bengal, they boycotted the British schools and colleges. National schools and colleges were set up. When the British boycotted the British courts, law and courts, the national courts, the own local courts were set up. So in that process, there was a revival of the Bengal economy, as well as all the other sectors, and number of newspapers articles were written, patriotic songs were written, and which are now a part of our Indian literature. It glorifies our Indian literature. There was a time wherein Bengal to arouse consciousness, to make the people alert, conscious, to make them understand, to arouse the feeling of nationalism among the people of Bengal. Number of songs, patriotic songs, number of programs, number of books, number of slogans, newspapers were written, and those newspapers, those programs now are a part of our Indian literature. It glorifies our history. So that is why number of schools altogether, 62 secondary schools were set up, 3,000 primary schools were set up, even the Educational Council Board was also set up, and number of industries were set up. In 1907, the Tata Iron Steel Industry was set up. Nindranjan Sarkar, he had set up the Acharya Prafulla Chandra Rao started the Bengal Chemicals. So not only the small scale industries, small shops were set up, but the medium scale industries also were set up. And the most importantly, people of Bengal, they unitedly, they stood together, fought for one common cause, and that 6 years of long movement was a remarkable one, because after 6 years the Britishers, they were compelled to withdraw the support of Bengal, to withdraw the partition plan of Bengal. So like it was a 6 years long successful movement in the history of India. So now let us a review of this chapter. Next class we will study about in detail about the causes, about the results of the partition plan of Bengal. So here we come to an end of this class.